Hello, everyone, and welcome to the main event of the World English Scrabble Players Association Championship 2025, happening right here, right now in Accra, Ghana. Commentating with me is Koinsola Lasaki on the stream. Hello, Koinsola, are you there?
Good morning, Moshope. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very fine. Are you excited for today's games?
Yes, I am very pumped to see some Scrabble.
All right. So we have Owolabi, Lukeman, and Olaribigbe Hakeem as our first game on stream today. You see Owolabi Lukeman playing FIXT as his first move. I think it's a pretty standard play here. And moving on to Olaribigbe Hakeem. Just a bit of backstory. Lukeman is the newly elected WESPAC president, and I promise you, this is a very well-rounded player. In fact, he is 36th in the world right now. And Olaribigbe Hakeem too is a masters player from Nigeria, and I expect some fireworks today. How about you, Coinsola?
I do. I've watched Mr. Olabi uh for on stream for a while now. One or two games, and he plays amazingly well. And also, Mr. Olaribigbe Akim, we saw him on stream yesterday, and it was wonderful.
Yes, yes. As you can see, he's wasting no time plunking down the first bingo of the West Palm main event here on our stream. We see OT Tides, I believe, coming down for 64 points. Would confirm if the blank is an E in a moment. What do you think about this play? Do you think it missed better scoring opportunities?
Yes, I think he could have played something like idiotism or yeah, idiotism to the eye. I think that scores better.
True, true, true. But still, coming down with the bingo is 100% sure of scoring 64. And we see Lukman wasting no time replying with Borgians. All right, this is a very interesting start from both players. They are wasting no time spotting their bingos. And one thing to note is Nigerian players are actually pretty fast. Lukman is representing Ireland, but is originally from Nigeria. And I'm sure it's from Nigeria he has trained and studied to become the amazing player he is today. So we'll be seeing a lot of speedy plays from both players. All right, we see IWI coming down from Olaribigbe Akim leaving ATED on his rack. There wasn't much you could do on that turn either ways. What do you think about this play, Sola?
Yes, I think it's a wise decision. Keeping DAT, the rack leave is very okay. So yes, I would do the same.
Exactly. And ATED is a solid lead, especially with the S floating. I know there's spaces for straight sevens to still play on this board. So we see HTELMEM. I'm guessing Lookman arranges it this way because he has spotted Hotelman if there was a floating hole. But currently, there are no bingos available, and he just has to find his best move, which I believe would be RHEME, coming down from the R in Budgeons. The H would sit pretty on the double letter score into the triple word score, scoring a solid 42 points.
I mean, 42 points, keeping LNT, no vowels. Although I might opt for HENT for 26, keeping ELM. But then 42 points is a lot to, pass on. That's like extra 12 points. So if he does RHEME, I think that's fair.
Yes, yes, yes. The downside, as you rightfully pointed, is he would not be retaining any vowel on that third. But 42 points is just way too much to pass on. Another option for him would be something like Theme, scoring underneath Borgians for 33. But why go for 33 when you have a 42 available? So I would like to see what he comes up with here. You can see he's still arranging hotel men, but I'm sure he has moved on, saying there is no floating O. Meanwhile, we see Olaribigbe came with a rack of TOADIER ready to respond, I'm sure.
It's quite funny because as beautiful as that rack is, there are no sevens on the rack. You know, it
So,
would have to play
why?
to a float.
Yes. All right, we see RAGME come down from Olabi Lukeman, the top choice here, and I see no issues with those moves. The thing is, the floating S from Bodgens would have given Hakeem asteroid in that turn, but will we be seeing him looking somewhere else on the board? And with the open M now, I believe he will waste no time spotting his bingo to the M.
I think that's a mediator for 80.
Yes, mediator for 80 is the move here, although he has other options like
Although
the N in Bodgens for ordinate, even R-rented in the N in on Bodgens.
being oriented or ordinate is a better option. I mean, the game is still it's still very early in the game. Three S's on scene. You know, you would not want to open that triple lane
True, true, true.
using the RD.
It's a 10 point difference between R-rented and mediator. I guess the fear of wanting to expose the R on the triple is enough to back out from that move. So top top choice there if you ask me playing R-rented. Real quick, anybody watching on the stream, if you're rooting for Lukeman, you're rooting for Arcade, you could leave a comment, you could cheer on the commentators, you could ask any questions you want. We're right here to answer you. And just give this stream a like so that the algorithm can push the stream to fellow world lovers across the world. All right, we see
What do you think of
LBOENET.
so what do you think of his rack?
All right. This is a rack that I'm sure is looking at, and one thing Scrabble players do is we study frequencies and suffixes a lot. So there are a lot of words ending with BLE, like able and all that. So I'm sure he's thinking if he has a word similar to able, maybe able or something. But I'm sure when he has done his due diligence, analyzing the board, he would have to go for a score. And he has a couple of options. He has Bento coming down to the right hand side of Ewe, scoring 30 points. He could also play BETON in the same spot. You see him taking his time here, and I can't blame him because this is a turn he has to take his time with and look thoroughly at this board, making sure he's not missing either an obvious bingo or a very high scoring option. Meanwhile, we see Hakeem arranging UNKNOWC. I'm curious what he will do with it when it's his turn. For anyone just joining the stream, this is the first game of the main event of the World English Scrabble Players Association Championship 2025. There are 32 games to be played, and the top two at the end of the 32 games are going to go into a best of seven matchup this Sunday. And after that, we'll be able to crown the WESPAC winner for 2025. By the way, Koinsola, do you have any predictions for who who the champion might be this year, or just any player you're rooting for?
I mean, first of all, we have the goats of Scrabble, Nigel Richards, playing the event as well. So I think that would be everyone's first choice. Considering the fact that is phenomenal. I mean, he's the goat for a reason. But other than him, I think we also have Ashan from England. Ashan is such a brilliant player. Is a player that I really admire a whole lot. There's Ashan. There's also Nigeria's Timile Indoko as well. So, a lot of players to look out for in this um, World Championship. It's going to be such an amazing tournament. I really cannot wait to see mind blowing games.
True, true, true. Very well said, Pointola. We are saying 19 players, in fact, from Nigeria playing in this World Scrabble Championship. And if you ask why, I'm going to tell you why. Because Nigeria is currently ranked second in the world, and because of the good standing they have with WESPA and the history of being able to build 19 players from Nigeria. Coming in, we have 17 players from the United States too in this tournament. All right, we've seen Lukeman play BELON for 30, leaving CE. Do you prefer Beton or the other option of Bento to Bellon points for that?
I think I like his choice. I think I prefer his choice. Keeping TE, I think I prefer Bellon.
Yes, yes, true. The T is a bit more favorable than the L. So understandable why he goes for Bellon in this case. And back to Hakeem. Currently, the scores are Lukman's 170 to Hakim's 158. This is a game where they are going head to head right now. And as soon as Hakeem plays, I'm guessing he will either catch up to Lukman or even surpass that score. So I think a simple play of Buck here, Buck playing from the B in Bellon for 36 is pretty standard. Fine, it keeps WONN, which is not the best of leads for. There isn't much he can do right now. Are you seeing any other plays for Hakim?
Hold on, please. I think there was a challenge. Yes.
Okay. So that's going to be an additional 5 points for
Yes.
Lukman for playing Bellon. All right, so back to Hakim now. We see is that's interesting. He's unbothered by the new opening of Bellon and he's going for unwoken. What do you think about this play?
I think it's pretty okay, especially because the B is it's not like the R or the A or other letters that are easy to play a triple through. You'd have to the
Uh,
probabilities, the odds are crazy to play a triple through a floating B. So yeah, I really don't think you should be bothered about it. So I think taking
but
his
but
score is
the
fine.
downside to this play is it is however invalid and from Hakim's expression, he hasn't picked his or he has not replenished his style. So I'm guessing Lookman is holding him and wondering if this is a what I mean. Unwoken sounds a bit reasonable. I mean, this is Scrabble. There are a lot of crazy words. But if you are saying a challenge, this would in fact be challenge of the board. Hello, Big Putin. We see you in the chat. Any Nigerian watching, you can just give a shout out. You can mention any player you're rooting for. And if you have any questions, we'll be right here to answer them. And a quick note, by the way. So these two have actually competed in WESPA rated tournaments and they played a total of 3 games together. If you were to guess, who do you think has the higher X to coin setup?
Might have, the upper hand in this game. All right. Unwoken has been challenged off the board.
True, true. That's understandable. I mean, yes, yes, and we'll see Hakeem lose that turn, giving Lukeman a chance to extend his lead. All right, so a quick answer to the question I gave for him. In fact, Hakeem has 2 games ahead of Lukeman. He has won 2 games to Lukeman's 1 game. So even though Lukeman is the 36th in the world and Hakeem is most likely in the top 200, still this is Scrabble. Anything can happen. So I'm curious to see who would take or win this game if they would even out their head-to-head scores or Hakim would further extend his lead. All right, we are seeing Lookman arrange MEET aside from his rank. Where do you think he wants to play this?
Probably to the S from Borgians. Yes, that looks like what he's doing.
Okay, that's exactly what he has done, scoring 25 points. That leaves Lookman's score 195 to Hakim's 158. Still, the BUCK option is open for Hakim, and I'm curious as to why he hasn't arranged that yet. I think he's just hell bent on, all right, all right, all right, we'll see the play coming down eventually for 36 points. On Lookman's rack, we have FLDATEA. This is another rack you think, oh, there has to be something here. It's looking a bit flexible with the ease floating, with the K and the straight 7 option available. I think he'll take his time here thinking through if he's missing anything. But from our analysis, there are no available bingos for him. So, what do you think he should do on this turn?
Probably faded. Through the T from oriented, yeah, faded, keeping ALT. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah, FADED to the D in oriented seems very standard play here, scoring 36, leaving ALT. And the best part about that move is even though it's slightly extending the board to the right, faded obviously doesn't take an S. So that is a play that he doesn't have to worry about way too much except an underlap there. All right, we see Big Putin in the chat saying he's rooting for Master Side Spain. That is one of the Nigerian representatives too. Um, I'm guessing everyone has their favorite players, and I myself cannot predict or even guess who is going to win this tournament. Fine, everybody's curious to see Richard display his amazing world power once again, but with a field of 126 players who are the best of the best from around the world. It is not going to be a walk in the park for anyone.
I can't help but wonder where all the biggies are in this game.
Oh, that's true. The Q is unseen, the Z is unseen, the J is unseen. That's the only time of seeing one of the biggest players for the very high scoring tiles was in the first move, and ever since, all we've seen are bingos back to back. All right, we see faded come down, and immediately Hakim is playing WON. There wasn't much to think about on that turn. All right, the second blank finds its way to Lukman's rack. What options are you seeing available for Lukman on this turn?
Oof. Off the top of my head, I really can't think of anything right now.
Yeah, in fact, he has only two bingos available for him. Oh, sorry, three. He has La Volta playing underneath fixed for 70 points. He has Ballet playing in the same spot, and a sneaky find would be a native through the E in Bellon. Do you expect Lukman to find any of those bingos?
Yes, I mean, for a player of his caliber, I think he has read very wide and extensive. So yes, he should be able to find at least spot at least one of these plays.
True. And with the scores, Lukman's 231 to Hakeem's 219, the bingo at this point of the game would widen that lead he has. Meanwhile, we see it seems you've actually called out one of the biggies you were expecting to see. Z has found his way to
Yes.
Hakeem's rack. I'm curious to see what he will do with it on this one. But first, you see Lukman taking his time. He has a feeling there has to be something here, and I'm sure he's fixated on the E or a straight seven to play his bingo. Once again, La Volta is an option for him, Valet or Alative to the E in Bellon. One thing worth mentioning here is Hakeem is on 19 minutes and we see Lukeman 10 minutes behind. That's very interesting. Usually these are two fast players, but I guess Lukeman has had a couple of tough decisions to make, and this is one of them. Do you think this would later affect him in the game?
Um, I I really can't say because these are speedy players, So in as much as he's 10 minutes behind, I think he should be able to manage his time.
True, true, true. We saw him arrange valet just now, but he backed out of that move because I'm guessing he wasn't sure. He plays it safe, goes for A, scoring very, very well. In fact, the only downside is escaping duplicated L's, a T, but at least he still has the plan. All right, we see Haeezon for Hakeem, and a couple of options available
Zuya
is
looks.
Z.
I think he could play Zuya, 42 points. Very juicy.
Yes, above the B in Budgeons of 42 points. There is no other play that comes close right now, except he wants to, do a setup or retain the Z to come back next turn for a much higher score. You could simply play HO underneath C and K in bulk for 30 points, leaving AZ going. I think there are certain players who would actually hold on to that edge. Are you one of them thinking, okay, you might want to come back and score higher with the Z, or left to you, you would just play your three and move on?
I'll play my Zuya because I've learnt my lesson. Sometimes I hold on to the blank for a better chance to play, and eventually I do not play any bingos at the end of the game. So yes, once the opportunity comes, I just take it. I waste no time.
True, true. And the thing with playing Zuia is you're playing out five tiles, and there is still, at least from his POV, there's still a blank left to pick. There are two S's, there's a Q, there's a J. So playing out five tiles at this point of the game might actually be useful for him. The only thing he was worried about is when to play Zuya, is giving out new floats to his opponent. All right, we're saying go for HAO, but you can see him changing his mind and he opts for HO scoring 30, giving AZ going. I'm curious to see if we'll be seeing a high scoring Z bingo. All right, Lukeman with LPLITN blank. He didn't have a lot of options there, but he did miss a bingo to the E. And let's see if anyone in the chat spots the bingo that was just missed by Owolabi Lukeman. He had a bingo to the E of Bellon. But we see him go for LEP scoring 20, giving LINC blank. All right, back to Hakeem. Zerrano. Unfortunately, we'll not be seeing any bingos containing Zenas. I would have loved to see, but he goes for a beautiful option of REZ scoring 44 points. All right, we see Odok in the chat pointing out top line the miss from Owolabi Lukman. Do you think the time has anything to do with why he must have missed that bingo?
I really don't think so, especially because it just had one option, and then it's to the E, and the E, thinking about it at that point in time might not even come to him to think to the E, especially because he had quite the number of consonants. But now I think we should see a bingo come down.
All right, we have Lukman with EPLITN. Unfortunately, there are no bingos available because if you look at the board, it's getting pretty choked up at this point. The floating E would have come in clutch in the last move, but right now it is very well misplaced. Things like top line don't even fit on the board. So we have to see, or we'll definitely be seeing a move where he just balances the styles, plays out the B, the D. He has options such as dipped going to the right hand side of mates, but there's no way he's going to play that because it exposes the triple lane unnecessarily. I think the standard move here would just be something like range, extending the RE from oriented, leaving LIET, and there's even a sneaky play inside the board, going down from the G in board jump. You could simply extend it with ID, forming GID, HIS, and AWED, but we're seeing go for something different. For a moment there, I thought he was actually going to play that, but he just dropped the P and D playing port for 13 points. So anyone just joining, I can see the number of people joining the stream just now. Make sure you give the stream a like such that the algorithm can push this to word lovers on YouTube. Also, you can just represent your country by commenting with a flag or players you're looking forward to seeing. And if you have any questions, I promise you we are here to answer them. I'm here to engage you. Make sure you follow the channel, give a like, and stay tuned. All right, back to Hakeem. We see a rap of Goanare. Very close to a bingo, but unfortunately, none for him. And this rap, the scores are 303 to Hakeem's 293. All right, Odok, we see you in the live chat. You're asking, is this the game from the main event? Yes, this is the main event. For those who are unaware, there is a side event ongoing from the World Scrabble Championship in Accra, Ghana, called the Sika event. That is for those who want to still play in Accra, Ghana here, but could not make it into the main event. However, the game on your stream right now is from the main event. We have Owolabi Lukeman representing Ireland and Olaribigbe Hakeem representing Nigeria. All right, we see Akim taking his time. Aagorne. As I mentioned the other time, he looks so bingo friendly. Feels like there has to be something here, but unfortunately, there are no available bingos for Akim. In fact, the only eight-letter word he could play to any floater would be baronage, and these are not well placed on this board for that. So we'll definitely see him balancing his trials here. I think a move like loan, Loan from the L in Bellon is pretty standard, but we see him going a bit differently. He opts for GOA atop Borgians. Do you think this does anything new to the board?
Other than opening the boards, I really don't think it does much. Although, considering the fact that the scores are pretty close, and to him, the blank is still unseen, I think opening the board is fine because the board looks very choked, and a bingo coming down would have to play over fixed or to the E.
True, true. With the GOA move, at least now there is a G floating, and you remember he contained an N in that turn. And there's something about the N and G combo that goes so well, especially if he drew into an I. We'll be seeing Lookman cashing in on the new opening with a bingo, but I'm worried we'll be seeing a phony because Pod doesn't take the back hook. S. Do you think Akin would challenge this move?
I think so. I think we should be seeing a challenge. I really think so.
Yes, it's understandable why he would make this mistake. There is, in fact, SPAW, but it means a spy. It is a noun. It can be a verb. So we see Tringles are most likely booking sport. And let's see if Akim challenges this up.
Looks like he's on
All
hold.
right, we see, yes, Lukman is not going into the towel bag. We see Akim looking at the move. I'm definitely sure he's not worried about the Tringles. It is the sport he's looking at, thinking if this word does exist in the lexicon. But as I mentioned, it's understandable why Lukman would want to try out this move. There is SPAW, and a lot of words like that might be a verb, but certainly not this one. And I'm sure when he played the chord, he must have been thinking he was setting up an S hook and must have been glad to see he could hook it. But let's see what Akim does if he's going to challenge this move or leave it off. If you ask me, I think Akim has every reason to challenge because the move scores 68 and a challenge is only 5 points extra. So I don't see how it hurts to, just give Lukman the 5 points if it was decided or not. But I guess Akim doesn't want to give any unnecessary points to Lukman. So it's understandable why he's taking his time. Is this someone asking in the chat? Is there any reason he does not play Snittle and move on? Well, the score difference between Snittle looking EF would be too little and it would expose the S on the triple triple. So I'm sure in Lukman's mind he's thinking this is a very standard move. It scores well and it conditions the board a bit more. So we see Akin really taking his time with this challenge. Why do you think is okay? We see a challenge eventually. All right, we see SPAWED is a phony, and wow, Hakeem saying that there isn't much you can do. Lukeman already has the blank, and the E in Bellon is still open. You might as well just go for the Jaguar and score pretty decently.
I think that 40 might cost Lukman the game, especially because he could have played, safe and scored 69, almost 70 points. But now I think he has to play to the E and he scores just 59, and it's exposing the triple word score.
True, very true. The thing is, with that phone he played, it has given Hakeem a bit of momentum in this game because as it stands, the score is Hakeem's 347 to Lukman's 303. And the only options, as you rightfully said, are through the E in Bellon, scoring only 59 points. He has words like Tringle and Lost Train playing for just 59 points. And we see the Q on Akin's rack. I'm sure we would have loved to see either of the last two use with that, but still, I'm sure with the Q80 combination, it could still land somewhere else on this board. So I would like to see Lukman's choice here. You can see he's down 3 minutes on the clock. And as I mentioned earlier, I had a feeling this would matter in the game. From his POV, there are still 23 on same tiles, seven of them on Akenzula. So there is still a lot of game to be played. We are approaching the end game yet, but still we are not quite there. So I'm curious to see if this would affect Lookman in any way. And anyone who is watching Scrabble for the first time, the time does matter because the moment is time exhaust, and for every extra minute he uses, it's a plus 10 for the opponent. So we see him quickly rush down Lance here. I'm sure he's thinking of opening up the board further because Lance takes the whole S for slant and there's plants, there's even a land. So he's thinking the E is open in Bellon for my bingo, and now I've opened up a new lane where I could come back and bingo. What do you think about this move?
Yes, I think it's fine. It's a setup for his bingo, especially since the playing to the E doesn't score much. He needs to try to secure this win for himself.
Yes. All right. We saw Akeem arrange Q80 on his rack the other time, and I'm sure he was looking to play that either to the left hand side of Jagir or going over to the AM in Arrointed and playing Q80 down here, forming AMA and RAT. But once again, exposing that triple lane unnecessarily would not be the option here. So we might see Q80 come down to the left hand side of Jagir for 37 points, leaving RNEV. And that even slightly obstructs the landscape. Fine, you can still play bingo ending with S, but what if the bingo has to start with an S? That can't move would obstruct that. So have we seen a flip flop? Okay, okay, that's exactly what he's doing. He's playing it for 37 points, leaving REVN, and I'm sure with certain draws, he could even come back with a bingo of his own. You see Lukman now with just 2 minutes left on the clock. The pressure is high. Lukman is on 315 to Hakim's 384. I'm sure he knows he needs a bingo urgently.
Sheesh, looking at his rack, I really don't think there's any bingos that I can play. and the tiles in the bag are reducing really, really fast. And he has just about a minute and 30 seconds on his time. So I think
Yes, we see him play.
he needs to play fast.
Yeah, we see him play YU to the right hand side there. Once again, with the idea of opening up as many spots as he can and leaving a very synergic rack leave. Right now, I wouldn't want to be in Hakim's shoe because I know there are too many threats on this board. The Lance move, set up an S, which he knows Lukeman has. With this new move now, there is another S setup because there's AMUS. Also, the E in Bellon remains open. So right now, there isn't much Akim can do to block all the spots. But I'm sure he's looking to just score as much as he can on this turn. We see him arrange Velcro. I haven't quite seen where that fits on this board, or if there is somewhere else right now, he could play that. All right, but some of his top choices would be to play Coven next to OWN, forming NOWN. That scores 21 points, but that exposes the C on the triple lane, and I don't think he would want to go for that. Do you see any safer move for Akim currently?
Uh, Other than that, I see novel, same spots, but then exposing the N is even worse. So I think Coven is better.
Well said. The thing is, there could be an interesting setup here from Hakeem. How about he just plays Oven in the exact same spot? He leaves the C to hook the Oven later on. And as we recall, the board is open enough already. The AMU spot, there isn't much Hakeem can do about it. So, how about he plays OVEN, setting up the Coven hook for later? What do you think about this move?
Okay, I think that setup is fine. I think your um option of playing just Uvon is fine.
Yeah, but we see Hakim is way too paranoid about the new opening and he plays LO, blocking the hook to Amos. But in some worlds rather, there are still 9 letter bingos that can go through the LO with LOS, maybe like Glossia or something like that, Glossiest, that will still land. But we are not seeing any of those plays here. We're seeing something pretty standard. Lukeman is playing grains, hooking, slant. I believe the blank would be an N. All right, things are getting interesting now. There are only 6,000 left on Lukman's rack, and the scores are Lukman's 397 to Hakim's 391. We've officially entered into the end game. I'm curious to see how Hakim is going to navigate this. I have a feeling is he has a bit of an advantage because it is his turn to play. With the tiles Lukman has, except he finishes in his next move, then Hakim can dictate how this end game goes. So do you think Lukman should have delayed his bingo, as certain players would have tried to really analyze that move and think, oh, if I play out my bingo, I'm going to have 6 tiles, and my opponent can play out in 2 moves? Or do you think going for that greens was just the best to do then?
Okay, so if we look at it from his point of view. Firstly, is down on time. Also, delaying the bingo if he decides to play something out. I see why you, and I think as at then there were three E's in the bag, Y and U, picking the Y and U alongside the blank and some other tiles might not guarantee him a bingo. Also, the bingo would not score much, especially even after the bingo, the scores are still, very, very close. So, unless he would be playing to the triple lane, I really do not think he should have delayed the bingo.
True, true, true. All right, so with CVERNIN on Athens Rack, I think the best he can do here to ensure he plays out in two moves would be playing Cavern through the A in Brains for 22 points, leaving IN. But would that be enough to win the game? Because you can see the S on Lukeman's Rack. The major threat on this board, as someone has rightfully mentioned in the chat, is the Aslant hook. Slant takes the hook A, forming a slant, and we can see a high scoring tile such as the Y on Lukman's rack. So a move like EYAS there would be absolutely devastating in this end game, scoring 43 points. Even if Lukman is unsure of EYAS, a move like YAS make things interesting, and with perfect play from both players, we might be seeing a draw. So Lookman has to find EYAS after Akim plays Havan. But there's also the option of Akim realizing the EYAS threat and the Aslan's hope. But is there anything he can do about it without sacrificing too many points? I think this is a very interesting endgame here, and we can see Akim taking his time. The 42 seconds left on Lukman's clock might be a bit challenging. But even though Akim realizes that Lukman is low on the scores, he would not want to rush this move to instill a mistake from Lukman. So we can see Akim taking his time. Now it's down to 2 minutes. The thing is, the I in grains. Perhaps he wants to play through it to obstruct the Aslant hope, but as I've said, it scores way too little. As you see someone saying in the chat, AYE even in that same spot is 40, which is massive. But if Cavan is played, the only winning move for Lukman is to play EYAS. If he goes for YAS, Hakeem can in fact force a draw. So we see on Lukman's rack is only arranging YAE with Lukman on 397 and Hakeem on. All right, a slight mistake from my end. Lukman is on 402, and I think a move of YAS after this, even if he doesn't spot EYAS, would in fact win him the game. Oh, we see YEAS come down. It did not spot the Aslant move. Wow. Would we be seeing Hakeem stealing this win?
I think Akim would win with
All
four
right.
points. Looks like he finished with IN. IN scored 17 in that spot, which takes the game to 430 to 430. But the extra 4 points on Lukman's right would give
Yes.
Akim the win.
Wow. Wow. I can't believe this. Aslant was the move for Lukeman to win this game. But unfortunately, with the time pressure and perhaps not looking at that sport, he missed his winning move. Wow, what a surprising turn of events. You can see them analyzing the game. He's thinking, oh, what if he played NY? But we can see that both players are not even thinking of the Aslant group. Wow, what an interesting end game. Good job to Akim for spotting Cavan as the structure is there because there wasn't much he could do. Even if he did spot the Aslant hook for Akim, there was no way he could block that without sacrificing too much points. Wow, what an interesting end game. All right, what an amazing start to the World Scrabble Championships here in Accra, Ghana. I would say a very close call from Owolabi Lukman from Ireland and Hakeem Olaribigbe from Nigeria, winning with only 4 points. And I'm sure with 7 more games to go for today, we're going to see more amazing gameplay from the best players from around the world. We see you, Matt Kanik, in the chat. We see everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you stay tuned, and we'll be right back for the second game of today.
ní blank ní rẹtẹ wà ń bí báyìí náà rẹtẹ wà blank wà so mo kàn fẹ́ ní kí n tá pé tí wọ́n máa ta anything rẹ̀ sí náà mo kàn wókè make I no you know. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 mo máa ta sharing gan kù. and again mo fẹ́ ta mo fẹ́ ibi báyìí mo fẹ́ pa ibi báyìí mo fẹ́ ta cat báyìí kí n pa ibi báyìí yẹ but mo kí ṣó wọ́ tẹ̀ ẹ̀ ní mo kẹ́ máa ṣe lọ torment ní gbogbo ibi báyìí wà ń lẹ̀ mo dẹ̀ láti score ṣó ti yé yín
nígbà tó ta káàdì tó bá ta bíbá yìí ok because
ẹ tí wọn fẹ́ ṣẹ́wọ̀n lẹ̀ gallant dẹ̀ tún wà so.
ok jẹ́ kí sáré reconcile score 28
64
64 mi score ni o finish
70
98
yes 24 8 9 10 11 22 20 24 88
42
Reme 8 9 10 42
42 140
1 70 Aaron 10 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10
158
Ewata 35
faded ṣe 25
no yeah 6 35
ok 30 pẹ̀lú
yeah Ewata chaff
ok 175 1 25 12 13 14
Ewata 36 Buck 194
yeah 194 yeah
Ewata 36 no 39